Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert from the Business Awards show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Business Women Awards. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Andrea Boughton, who is the founder of the brand studio Beehive Green. She is a branding designer and has been doing this for 25 years and has had her business for almost 10 years. So welcome, Andrea.
Thanks, Debbie. That was a lovely intro.
Well, we're going to be talking to you about your recent silver win in the Best Business Women Awards and also another awards that you were a finalist in for this year, and also about how the awards industry generally is such a great way of businesses within branding and marketing to market themselves, and a bit about your business journey. So let's start with that. So tell me why you set up your own business nearly 10 years ago.
Probably a familiar story to lots of people, but before I started my business, I had as you said, I've been in the design industry for 25 years. I've been working in a London agency for 8 years, kind of worked myself up to quite a senior level, design and helping run the studio, pitching for lots of projects. Really fun job, but quite demanding job. I live in Hertfordshire, so it required a commute. So I was sort of out of the house from 7 in the morning till 7 at night on a good day, and often if there were pitches or other things, it could be longer. So while it was fun, basically, I started a family, my priorities changed, and it wasn't really viable to go back with the childcare and everything, and I wanted to see my children. So I actually ended up taking a 5-year career break, and had great time with my kids. You do get a bit of stigma actually kind of taking some time out as well, I found, but I did a few little freelance bits and pieces during that time, and I actually had done in my agency days as well. So inevitably, it kind of came the time where I wanted to pick back up where I left off. And I just couldn't find anything that suited me in terms of the flexibility that I wanted, the hours that I really wanted to do at that stage. And I wanted to be able to do the school run and things like that. And so given this, so my eldest is 16 this week, actually.
Wow.
So I think things probably have moved on quite a lot, but at the time there was not that flexibility there at all. I'd seen people try to do it. So took that time out, and then when I was looking to go back, most of the roles being quite close to London were still in London, and you didn't have the option of the kind of hybrid working either. So really I just decided to just kind of put the word out there if anyone had any work they wanted to do, dusted off my Mac and started going from there. Really, it wasn't something I intended to do or for the long run, but it just kind of worked. It was a whole different ball game working for myself rather than for an agency, because you're wearing all the hats, aren't you? So a lot of learning bits and pieces that I hadn't really been involved with in like costing and all that type of thing, as well as all the admin side of it. So it was quite a challenge, I found. But I got going, learned stuff along the way, joined different communities, learned off other people. And I had been doing more like publishing, editorial design in my agency role. But I've evolved to focusing just on brand identity design. I tend to work with a lot of small businesses. It suits their needs, and it just means you can just keep on doing fresh ideas, fresh designs as well. Like I found I'd actually got a bit stale with the publishing anyway, because once you've done a few issues of a publication, it tends to be the same each issue. So it's great fun when you're pitching and doing the new work. So I was ready for that change. It kind of started off doing, really a few hours here and there while the children were quite young, and has just evolved to being, my full-time role. I now collaborate with other people. I work with some, quite fair-sized organisations. It tends to be those people have design in-house. They might have a marketing person or a comms person, to have a dedicated design department. So usually people that are looking to grow and want to kind of I guess project the right image, talk to their clients the right way. So I've got quite a kind of focused way of looking at, I guess they're trying to convey their personality through the brand to help them connect with their audiences. And yeah, it's just evolved. You know, I started out working with, I say, smaller businesses or one person organisations, and now I tend to work with slightly bigger organisations. So they're quite in-depth projects for a couple of months on time, but it's, you know, everything's done by the end of it, and it's fun. It's good to see the transformation.
So that is your passion, is creating brands and redesigning brands and getting them out there. I like being
hands-on. Yeah, I like being hands-on, which is one of the reasons why I don't really have an urge to scale up into an agency myself, because I know the higher you get, the less hands-on you can be, and I actually like the hands-on creative part of it. So.
And I think everyone has their own aspirations of what they want to do, and just because you don't have a massive business with loads of staff doesn't mean that you're not successful. And that was like one of the things with setting up the awards. I wanted to see everyone getting recognized who was, you know, doing a really good job for their clients and may have discounted awards because they thought they weren't big enough. So you had experience. You had experience though, didn't you, in working in an agency of their awards?
Yeah, so going back to that stint in an agency, it was quite a niche. We worked in this editorial creative communications, and there was basic annual awards called the Communicators in Business Awards, and that was our marketing activity, really entering lots of those awards. And we'd usually scoop quite a lot of awards each year. Some might be for editorial, some might be design. I used to do a magazine for Sainsbury's, a staff magazine. That was a gold winner. We used to enter PR Week awards as well, and I had stuff shortlisted there. But doing the award entries and you know, getting those awards was a great way for the agency to go out and pitch for new work, because it just gives you so much credibility to these awards for these different brands doing the work. It's just it just gives you a big tick, doesn't it? It puts you a step ahead of the competition. So
you could see that for yourself, that you thought, you know, awards would be a good way of you getting your business out there.
Definitely. I just don't think I understood for a long time, because this is the first year that I've entered any awards independently, and I don't unless I'm chatting like this, I don't mention my old awards, because they're a long time ago for a different type of work. But I always know the value of them. What I had noticed over the years were certain awards popping up where people are shouting, vote for me, do this, do that, or you get stuff land in your inbox where it's like, well done, you've won, just pay, you know, you know, sometimes thousands of pounds and you can get your award. And that just felt like, you know, if I want to do something, like that,
do it well,
credible, with a proper solid entry process, and feel relevant, the outcome for me. You know, I'm not doing it for a vanity kind of exercise. It's that validation and credibility and all those things, because sometimes you do get looked on a bit more negatively working, you know, a sort of small outfit like what I am. But actually, you know, sometimes the work I do, you know, I am pitching against agencies and bits and pieces. So actually having those awards there. So I'm a member of Hertfordshire Chamber of Commerce, which I joined last year, I think, and they have a awards or awards evening every year. And much as I said, I didn't really think it was relevant for me as, you know, a small business, you know, tiny business. I mean, there are a lot of small businesses entering, but I went along they ran a workshop where you could go along and ask questions. And I went along to it and I chatted to the lady there, kind of explained my situation. And she was just amazing, really encouraging, talked me through all the things that, you know, I could say, you know, just made me realise really that it is worth entering, and you've got to be in it to win it. And so I went for it. I entered 3 different categories, and I ended up being a finalist for Hertfordshire's small to medium business this year,
There you
and
go.
Entrepreneur of the Year this year. And sadly, I didn't win my categories, but it was a short list of 6 for both. So it was brilliant to get there, and an amazing evening, because the awards evening was at the Harry Potter Warner Brothers Studios. So
which is lovely. What a great venue. Yeah,
we had the train next to us on the platform. So what a night. It was really memorable and really fun. So that kind of gave me the bug a little bit, and then I'd obviously heard about your awards, but again thinking, okay, what is it relevant for me? Is it worthwhile? But then I heard you'd introduced a new creative category, and I was like, right, that's it. I'm gonna do it. Because again, that's what kind of really sold it to me. And obviously your process, about having, different judges go over the same categories and awards, and how thoroughly it's done. And I know from the questions and filling in the information, it's not an easy process, but it's a great way to review what you've been doing. And actually, I have been, you think, oh, not much has been happening, but when you actually start adding it up and put it together, you're like, actually, wow, I've been doing a lot over this last 12 months. So it's just got all sorts of benefits, really, from I
think the way, one of the things that we don't realize is, like, I think it's about 95% of businesses close after 5 years or within 5 years of startup. So if you get to nearly 10 years running your own business, getting work in, servicing your clients, you definitely have the attributes that you could enter awards, because you clearly are a good business, because otherwise you wouldn't be around. You'd have given it up and gone back to working for an agency, because to keep that momentum of work coming in is never easy. No, it's never easy, is it?
It's not. You've got to continually be visible and get yourself out there, which I haven't always been brilliant at doing. And it's still, it's a juggle, isn't it, when you're a small business, because it's time based, a lot of it. So again, the awards are just a great validation, really. And when people see, it just makes people notice. I noticed even at the Chamber of Commerce events, obviously, you sit around a table and different types of people there, a lot of them big organizations. But when if it comes up in conversation, some of the clients you've worked for who are well known locally, or these are the awards that you've been a finalist, they're like, oh right, okay, they suddenly seem to pay a little bit more attention. It's
interesting, isn't it, how that changes people's perceptions. So in the 10 years that you've been in business, what sort of challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome them?
So I think one of the challenges to me is always time. As a small business, I do now outsource various tasks. I've got a VA that helps me with admin. I've got an accountant, all those things that I were kind of doing everything myself to start with. And, I invest in my business as well. So, things like my website, I'm not writing my own copy, because that's not what I advocate to my clients. So I also, get a copyright. So I think the time thing, but then investing in the right things has worked. So for me, obviously juggle with children, and with me now, it's getting to be more of a juggle with aging parents. That quite a lot been going on there really over the last 5 years, and I think in the last year we've had like 3 unexpected hospital stays where you have to kind of drop everything. But I'm kind of a bit I don't know, I try and be a bit smart about it now. So I'll try and build time into deadlines, so that you've got a little bit of flex there when you're needed elsewhere, really. And I think it's, a lot of people, it's just kind of the reality, isn't it? This sort of juggle. So other challenges, I guess it's just making yourself seen and being visible. So with that, doing things like this, appearing on podcasts, trying to get featured in the press, all those sorts of things have been good for visibility, and just those kind of strategic partnerships with other people as well, joining different networks, and kind of being sociable, to be honest.
Because it can be really isolating working at home, can't it?
It can, yeah.
Do you find that can sort of stem your creative flow, or do you find it's better if you're kind of focused on what you're doing?
I quite like working. I didn't at first, but I quite like being by myself when I'm actually hard working now, because I very occasionally I'll go co-working somewhere, but what I end up doing is actually it's more social because I haven't seen anyone. But it's quite convenient for me being at home. I've got a dog, so I can take, I break up the day by taking the dog out, and I think that helps, give you a bit of a fresh outlook on things and keeps you a bit focused. You need to take breaks. You can't just sit in the house all the time. So it's trying to get that right balance with everything, keeps you focused. But actually, I quite like being at home, working from home now.
So what sort of, if somebody was listening to this, what sort of advice would you give them if they were thinking of starting up in branding and design work, starting a business?
It is very competitive. There's lots of people doing it, so make sure you're doing it really well and know what you're doing. Look at the practicalities of things as well as making things pretty. So really kind of know your craft really, and ask questions, ask your audience. But in practical terms of setting up a business, I think the best thing to do is join various communities, and there are design communities, there's freelance communities. You need to get all your contracts in place. I've had some things that haven't been particularly nice happen, things haven't gone quite as I'd wanted to, but all I do is then update my contracts like that. That's not going to happen again, because I've learned from that experience. So I think you do learn as you go along as well. But really you just need to get yourself out there, get some good work in your portfolio. Less is more sometimes as well. The sort of work that you want to be doing. Don't show everything under the sun. Just be quite focused about the type of work.
Do you niche in any particular industries, or do you generally work with anybody in any industry?
It tends to be more the size of the organisation, but actually I am, I guess, on a bit of journey to work with more kind of positive impact brands. So I do work with quite a few non-profits, some charities, and it tends to be businesses championing certain things. So maybe the creative industry, or I'm working with a wine brand at the moment. That's, I know, really fun one, but they're championing small wineries, for example. So,
small producers.
Yeah, so it's
so where did your name Beehive Green come from? I'm intrigued about that.
So when I started out, I was just Andrea Boughton Design, which never felt quite right, but because I kind of almost fell into it and everything. So after a few years later, I knew I wanted something that kind of gave me, because I do often pull different people in on projects and pair up with different people, so especially writers and photographers, getting an illustrator in on the projects I'm working on at the moment. So I wanted something that could kind of unify. Just having my name didn't feel quite right. So one of my kind of core values is collaboration. And where I happened to be living at the time, which is not far from where I am now, was a road called Beehive Green. So I really like the beehive part of it. It kind of summed up that collaboration and people working together. So it kind of started from that, but I ended up taking the whole name because actually the green just gave it that extra oomph. It's a bit of a talking point, but actually for me as well, it's green's a colour about kind of freshness, reinvigorating, growth. And it's kind of a bit of a metaphor for everything that I do with the brands I work with. So I kind of talked myself into it really, and I did all the searches and everything, and it was available. So since then I have trademarked my name. I've done all those things to protect my brand, become a limited company. That was quite recent. I was operating as a sole trader for quite a while. And probably the next thing will be within the next couple of years is becoming like VAT registered as well, because most of the organisations I work with are companies. So it kind of put me off for quite a while, but Yes, that's where the name came from. It was where I
Oh,
actually lived, and I knew it was something that I could take with me if I moved, because I knew I'd
yeah,
probably be there forever. But it's
that's
yeah, I
amazing.
often get asked about that. So
Yeah, because it does, to me, it sings a bit of sustainability, CSR, and obviously
yeah,
the busyness of bees. And
yes,
I
yeah,
wondered where you got it from, because I actually think it's a lovely name, and your branding, your own branding is really good. And of
thanks.
course, the testament to how well that you do this with your clients, really. Because if you can't do it for yourself, how could you,
Yeah,
sometimes you look at people's stuff and you think, oh my God, it's a
I
bit grim.
know, and I think that's the thing as well. What I say to anyone that's running a business, you really have got to invest and showcase yourself the right way if
Mm,
you want to be working on really quality projects, and people to believe in you really and
mm,
trust in you. Actually, having a strong brand gives you, um, you know,
mm.
credibility, basically,
And I
much like
think,
the awards and everything.
yeah, I think the awards have now given you the credibility that you are a good businesswoman. And that's what the awards bring to your door, really. You've had two different judging panels select you based on the information you've obviously put in your entry, but they will have looked at stuff online as well that's out there about
Yeah,
you. And I
yeah,
think it gives you that reassurance that you're on the right track and that you're doing all of the right things. And as a businesswoman, you are credible,
yes, yeah,
which is
yeah.
great. So would you enter awards again? What's your thoughts on that for next year?
Definitely, yes. It is time consuming,
Mm,
so I'm not up for like a scattergun approach.
no.
I will again look at what's right for me, but I think with awards, actually, you probably do need to keep doing them,
Mm,
because you know so many people say award winning this, that, and the other, and it's what have you won and when and
mm,
how's it?
mm.
It could be anything, couldn't it? So I think you need to keep up to date to be relevant. So yes, I will be looking
And it
to.
keeps your profile raised without a doubt. I mean,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
especially when you've got, I mean, have you entered any design awards yourself as your
No.
business?
So I need to look. So I
Yeah.
know the ones that I used to enter, and actually a lot of them. So I follow obviously the creative industry. You've got creative review. You've got design
Mm,
week. You've got the D&AD. They cost hundreds of pounds per entry. They're not really viable for
mm,
people like me, because I mean, I know from my past experience that was our marketing activity. So
mm,
a lot of money would be invested in it. And that's going back,
mm.
15 years, 16, well, actually longer than that ago. So I need to find something that is right for, viable, basically. But that would be my next step, I think, to look at something actually being judged on some of the work that I do. And
Yeah. So is there no awards out there for smaller design companies, do you think? It's all
so I
big.
need to do some research, don't
Yeah.
I?
I
And
might go and have a little look because that
yeah,
seems
the
to
other thing,
me, yeah,
so
that there should be awards out there for that, without a doubt.
especially in the sector that I want to work
Mm,
with, talking about the CSR, charity, things like that.
mm.
I've got a big rebrand that I'm desperate to share with everyone. It's not launched yet, and it just keeps getting put. It was due to be launched, I think, in January, and now it's next January at the moment. We're
Oh
looking at it. It's
gosh.
like, yeah, and it's just such a great showcase. But obviously, I
Yeah.
can't show anything,
No,
and I
not
wouldn't
until
show
it's
anything.
launched. No.
But it really does sing to everything that I believe in that terms of making a brand accessible,
Yeah. How
inclusive,
exciting.
diverse. So yeah, that would be a good showcase. So
Mm,
I'm hoping when that's launched that I can use that as a tool for some entries as well.
mm,
So yeah, that would definitely be good, because I think being actually judged on your work against your
mm,
peers is a good thing as well. Just a good
mm.
experience to go through whatever happens.
So overall, in your view, awards are a positive experience, even for a solopreneur.
100%, because I think
Mm,
even whether you get I've been lucky to have been shortlisted this year. Got a silver with you, but the whole process was a real learning point as well, in that, like I say, just reviewing my business, my achievements,
mm,
looking at the numbers over the last few years and seeing the kind of how things have grown,
mm.
has been a really good exercise to do,
Mm.
great way to review and
Good way
see.
to reflect on what you've done.
Yeah, and I've set myself targets for next year, so
Mm,
some of the awards I've entered, they're like, what are your objectives? And actually it's really helped me think, what are my objectives? So you want to keep on moving forward. So, you know, I've got goals to work to.
What's your big goals for next year? What's on your agenda?
So I am currently working through a net zero program with Winter. You might know that.
Yeah, we do.
So I've passed the first level. So I've kind of said that I want to be gold by you know, next year, by middle of next year. So that's one of the things that I'm doing. So trying to make it, you know, understand more and learn more about that, really. I do a lot of personal training. I did a lot of work on brand strategy last year. I did a few different courses on that, so I'm looking to put more of that into action as well. And one of the other things that I'm learning a lot about, and there's still lots to learn, and actually it's always going to be, is AI, because obviously that's got a big impact on the creative industries. It doesn't frighten me at all, because I see it as more as a tool that you can use, and actually it's been really good at, you know, just simple things you can do to get different effects and things like that, which would have taken hours, you can do in 2 minutes now.
Amazing, isn't it? It's amazing.
That, and the written side of things, you know, getting, you know, when you write too much and you need to cut it in half and you'll find it really hard, you know, it might not come out exactly as you want it to, but you know, so learning,
it helps.
AI is one of the things that I'm definitely upskilling on at the moment. So
you've got a lot going on.
I think the industry is, and that's one of the reasons it was quite daunting going back after having a bit of a career break, is the tech just continually
changes all the time, and
you've got to keep up with it,
changing at quite a vast speed at the moment, isn't it, with AI? Amazing.
I've actually been accepted on a program to be an Adobe ambassador as well.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I don't know the ins and outs, so I need to look at that. And I'm making more, because obviously Canva's really popular, but I'm trying to get my clients to use Adobe Express more, because it just works really well with all the stuff that I do, but a lot of people don't know about it. So yeah, there's lots going on really, but I think it is just...
So is Adobe Express similar to Canva? You know,
it is, very much similar to Canva, but obviously for me it syncs up with a lot of my workflow, so it just makes sense, and I just find it a bit more user friendly because I'm used to working with that software. But as in terms of someone that hadn't used it, it's quite similar to Canva, really. But again, I think they're getting quite you know, there's a lot of rivalry there between them, as you can imagine.
So which came first, Adobe Express or Canva?
Well, Adobe Express has been around in different guises, called different things, for a number of years, but I think Canva was the first to go. I mean, Adobe's always been a professional design tool, and I think they've seen obviously the success of Canva for, you know, it's made it really accessible to non-designers, hasn't it? Just being able to produce things that look slick and effective. So I think it's definitely, I'd say the last 18 months massively come on leaps and bounds in terms of what you can do in it, really. So it's worth to play around with. It's probably find it quite similar, but there's different things probably that are better in each different
different features.
You've got access to a lot of AI stuff in there, which is really quite smart and clever. So that can be taken advantage of for creating images and graphics and stuff, and all sorts of effects. So
interesting,
it's quite fun. But the time to play around and learn everything while doing the client work, it's trying to keep
because it's a lot of balls to juggle doing all of that, isn't it? It's interesting.
It always is, isn't it? You've got to keep learning but also doing the work, so you can keep on learning. But that's what keeps you going, doesn't it? Keeps you stimulated. So
well, we will be excited to see this new rebrand that you've been working on in January.
Oh, I know. Actually, I've got a couple more that should be launching hopefully before then. But it's just funny the way sometimes I worked with, well, actually, it's a Swedish brand. I'll say about this. It probably doesn't come as a surprise because there's an software as a service. I can't say it quickly. Tech brand. I literally gave it to them. The next day, they'd updated all their site, everything launched within a day. And then this one's a year, and it's obviously or it's a charity, lots of
yeah,
people.
maybe it has to go through so many channels.
Yeah. So it is, you can never quite tell, but I always like my clients to have the ability to kind of launch everything and show it off before I do let them take the
Well, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, maybe my business could do with being rebranded, refreshed, or maybe you are starting out in business and you want to start off on the right footing, we'll make sure Andrea's details are in the show notes. And also we will add some links as well for you, Andrea. So great to talk to you, and we shall continue to watch your journey with interest and see some of the new brands that you're revealing. So I'm sure you'll put them out on LinkedIn. So connect with Andrea on LinkedIn. And thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Debbie. It's been lovely to chat with you.
Thank you.